Hi, welcome to digital marketing. Most marketing today happens online, and digital marketing, it's a weird term because it encompasses anything that happens online. So digital marketing could be sending an email. It could be posting things on your website or your website. It could be anything from doing search engine optimization to posting on a blog, creating an infographic. There's a lot of different ways that you can do digital marketing. So the term digital marketing itself really doesn't mean anything. It's about as broad as marketing. Just means that you're doing some kind of marketing effort online. So today we're going to talk about how do you do digital marketing? What are the objectives of digital marketing? You know, it's kind of cool that the technology has advanced to the point through machine learning and AI that now they can feed ads directly to you, customized to you. And that's not possible in the real world. And so it's kind of creepy, but at the same time it's kind of cool. Case in point, if you just go back 5 or 6 years, if I would look in my Facebook feed, I would oftentimes get fed a lot of merchandise for the University of Utah. Well, I don't like the University of Utah, sorry Ute fans, but I would get all these feeds for merchandise from the University of Utah. And frankly, I didn't care. Because in their algorithm, they were thinking, well, he lives in Utah, so he must like the University of Utah. Now that doesn't happen anymore because they know that I'm a Utah State fan. And so I only get fed Utah State stuff, and I only get fed Los Angeles Dodgers stuff. And so, I like that because it's feeding me the things that I like to see. And that's the wonder of digital marketing in terms of targeting. You can target people in the demographic and the lifestyle that you want to have targeted with your messages. So that's kind of cool. So as we start today, digital marketing encompasses all the marketing efforts that we use on electronic devices and through the internet. It's leveraging digital channels such as search engines, social media, email, websites to connect with current and prospective customers. There are 4 different types of digital marketing objectives. The first is conversion. We want to make a sale. So we measure how well we are converting messages into sales. The second is retaining customers. Oftentimes we want to measure, are we keeping people? And that's a really important thing because sometimes, and I'm sure you've had the case where you've been inundated with emails from someplace and you finally say enough, and you opt out. And so measuring retention is a really important metric to make sure that we're giving people the things that they want, but not bludgeoning them to death. So measuring retention and retaining your customers is a key metric. Sometimes we want to advocate for something. We are working on a project and we want to advocate for it. That's a legitimate marketing objective. And acquiring new customers. So those are the 4 kind of types of digital marketing objectives that exist in the marketplace. In terms of goals, well, we always want to increase sales. We want to improve our conversion rates, getting people to buy more. We want to increase the percentage of return customers. We want to increase our organic traffic volume, and we want to reduce our bounce rate. Bounce rate is basically when people come to the website and then they leave without buying anything. Let me talk about organic traffic. Organic traffic is when you have done things online through your search engine optimization to get your website to pop up at the top of the web rankings. So when somebody Googles something, your company's website ad appears. Now that's getting really hard to do because Google keeps adding in paid sponsorships for everything, and it keeps forcing the organic searches down the page. Now there's hardly 1 or 2 organic search terms left on the original first page of Google search. So trying to get your organic search up is really hard, but the beauty of it is if you can get that done, it doesn't cost you anything. It's all free traffic, because if they click on your organic link and you haven't paid for it, it doesn't cost you a dime. So, we're going to talk a little bit about how do you increase your organic search, and that happens through search engine optimization, which we'll cover here in a second. So, all marketing starts with understanding the buyer. How will my product or service fit into that customer's life in a way that will make their life better, and then telling them that. So all of our marketing efforts need to be coalesced around that goal. So, we have a target audience, and a target audience can be defined from a behavioral standpoint, from a demographic standpoint, from a psychographic standpoint, or from a geographic standpoint. And usually we try to do all four. As we understand consumer needs, we have to understand what they do, when they do it, how they do it, and what they expect of you in return. So it's not just put it out there, let them buy it, and let them go. We have come to expect a lot of things. For example, if you buy something on Amazon, we've come to expect that you immediately get an email that says, we've got your order. Then we've come to expect another email that says, your order has been shipped, and here's the tracking number. And then we've now come to expect even another one, your order has been delivered. And so we know all along, and Amazon is keeping track of that. Now, no human being is doing that. That's the beauty of marketing automation, because the computers are taking care of all of it. There's no human interface at all. But we have to understand all of these things in order to be effective. You can't just throw up a website, throw up a link, and hope that people are going to buy. Marketing is not a field of dreams. So, when we talk about customer personas, we've talked about that before when we were doing branding. We have to understand, what are their daily routines? What are their pain points? Do they have languages or lingos or terms that they use? What are their key words and their key phrases? Who are their key influencers? Are there factors of purchase that they use? Key factors. What are they reading? What are they looking at on their social media? What do they aspire to? What are their preferences? All of those things have to be considered as we're trying to paint that picture of that consumer persona, so that we can understand how our product fits into that person's life. Buyer's journey have basically 3 stages. There's an awareness stage, where they become aware of your product or your service. There's a consideration stage, where they consider, well, will that meet the need that I have? And then there's the decision stage, where they decide whether or not to make the purchase. So we have to think about the buyer journey all along that path. It's not just about getting them to know about our product. We have to lead them down that path. Some people call this the marketing funnel. And so, as we talk about awareness, there's 2 different types of awareness. One is when the customer becomes aware of their problem themselves. But oftentimes we have to make the customer aware that they have the problem. They might not know that they have that problem. So, for example, if someone is going down the path of type 2 diabetes, well, you might want to ask them, are you thirsty all the time? Do you sometimes get tired? Are you frequently urinating? All those are signs of type 2 diabetes. And so making them aware that they have that problem might spur the aha moment for them. If they're aware that they have the problem, then we can focus on the solutions. Well, now that you've got type 2 diabetes, here are the solutions that you can use to solve that problem. And so they have to value the different options, and then finally, try to make a purchase. We have a thing called the AIDA funnel in marketing. It's called awareness, interest, desire, action. And that is the marketing funnel that I referred to a moment ago. Awareness is getting the market potential aware that you exist. Because again, if the customer doesn't know you exist, there's a 100% probability they are not going to buy your product. Once they understand that you're there, Now we have to turn them into interest in our product, which we call suspects. Then once we get them from a suspect to a prospect, we try to turn them into desire, and then ultimately action creates a customer. And so as we move people down the funnel, it becomes critically important that we're thinking about the different types of marketing that we can do at each stage of that. So for example, at the awareness level, we can use social media ads, we can use demographically targeted ads, we can use display ads, topic related ads. At the interest level, they have somehow flagged that they're interested. Now we can use remarketing, where we use the AI to resend and retarget them, the creepy stuff. We can use paid search engine optimization. We can use search engine optimization. At the desire level, where they have now shown not only an interest but potentially a desire to buy, they've come to your website, they've checked it out, they might have clicked on it but left it in the bag, shopping bag. So now we can use email marketing. We can remarket to them again. We can use paid search. We can use search engine optimization. And finally, at the action, we can then use marketing automations and emails to continually update them and keep them aware. Let's talk first about inbound marketing now. Inbound marketing is a tactic to position your product to prospects that are already looking for a solution to a specific pain point. So they are looking for things, and we are trying to get them to come to our website. We call that inbound marketing. Inbound marketing has 4 different components. The first is search engine optimization. The second is social media. The third is content marketing, and the fourth is email marketing. We're going to talk about each of those individually. So let's start with search engine optimization. SEO, search engine optimization, entails optimizing a website on specific keywords so that it ranks highly on the search engine results on Google and search engines. SEO is a proven way to increase your traffic to your website, and it's the most cost-effective way of doing so. Because if they're coming through organic search, it doesn't cost you anything. Search engine optimization has a couple of different ways you can do it. On-page or off-page. On-page SEO are the things that you do on your website to drive the traffic, so that Google will recognize, aha, this is the answer that this person is looking for when they put in the search term, and so therefore they put your link up in the search results. That can be a lot of different things, and we'll talk about that separately. Off-page SEO is stuff that are basically links coming to your website, both inbound and outbound, where Google says, aha, this really is an expert place for this type of information. So it could be stories that some newspaper or magazine has written on you that you have links to coming in from their site to yours. Or it could be articles and blogs that you've written that somebody else has posted on their website. So you've got the off-page SEO, and then you've got the on-page SEO. From an optimization standpoint for SEO, it's not a quick fix. It takes time. SEO takes time. You can't just wake up one morning and have it fixed in 2 weeks. It's a slow build. But once you get it built, it works really well. But you just have to have patience with it. Now, there are a lot of companies out there trying to sell SEO. And they'll say, we can get you to the top of the rankings, and don't buy it. Because it takes time, and it's just a matter of effort. And you can do it yourself with a little patience. So, I wanted to see how it would work. So I used my own personal website, ericschulz.com. And, when I first put it up, and I just have it there for really no purpose at all. I just bought my name. But when I first put it up, and I would then search Eric Schulz, I would never come up. My website would never come up. And I thought, well, this is weird. I mean, I'm Eric Schulz. I own ericschulz.com. How could I not have my website come up when I Google it, when I Google my name? And so I went to some of these websites. There are several websites out there that you can go to and visit that will help you do your SEO. And most of them offer a free week trial, and then they start charging. So I would just go around to these websites that would help SEO. And what they do is they basically emulate the Google search algorithm. And so you put in your URL, and then it combs through your site and it says, okay, so if you're trying to get consultant up, then you need to add the word consultant 3 or 4 times. You need to put it in the header. You need to do these kinds of things. And so I'd make the change. I'd run it through the thing again and say, okay, now you need to fix this. And I just kept doing it. And I screwed with it for about a month with 3 or 4 different websites that had these things. Never paid for any of it. Just used their website, their free trials, and just kept messing with it. And sure enough, after a couple months, my website started popping up. And now, I challenge you, go ahead and take a look at Eric Schulz, Google Eric Schulz, and see what comes up. And you will probably see that I am most of the first page. Nobody's buying the term Eric Schulz, so everything's organic. But I am most of that first page. My website comes up, my Huntsman School bio comes up, my Rate My Professor comes up, some of my other pages come up. So it's pretty cool. And I haven't done anything with it now for about 3 years. So it's a long-lasting effect, but it takes time for it to all kind of work. So you can't just throw something out and work on SEO and think that you're going to get a quick fix, because it doesn't work that way. So there's 12 different keys that you can use to improve your on-page SEO. Number 1 is finding the right keywords. You want to make sure you've got the right keywords so that when Google hits it, it says, aha, that's it. You can't just spam keywords out there. That doesn't do you any good. You got to be really focused and really targeted. Now, how do you find the right keywords, and how do you know what people are Googling? Well, you can set up a free account in Google Analytics. Just search Google Analytics and go set up a free account. And then you can pretend like you're setting up a campaign. It'll say, set up campaign. You can pretend like you're setting up a campaign, and you can go in and you can search terms. It'll tell you how many times those terms have been searched in the last 30 days. So you can see what are the words that people are using to search for you. So now you've got a clue as to what you can put onto your page to help drive up the organic search. So finding the right keywords is first and paramount. You want to make sure that you've got the title. You've got the right keyword in your title. You got to have the right keywords in your text in your first paragraph. You want to have an SEO-friendly URL. You don't want to have a URL for your website that is long and arduous and hard for somebody to remember to type in. So the shorter, the better that they can remember. You want to have engaging content. You want to have you optimize your images and tag your images. You want to have good site speed. Whoever you've got hosting your website, you better have good speed, because people have no patience. I think back to when the internet started, and America Online was your on-ramp to the internet. And when I would dial into America Online, it would take about 2 minutes to get connected, number 1. And then if you wanted to go to a website, it would take about 2 minutes for that website to download. And I was thrilled to have that. But now, things are so fast and so quick that if your website doesn't load in under a second, people are gone. So you've got to make sure that whoever your website provider is has got good back-end speed so that it'll load quickly. You want to make sure that you've got responsive design. And that means when it's either looked on a phone or looked on a laptop or a desktop, that it adjusts accordingly and it doesn't mess up when it's on a phone, because most web traffic now comes on phones. So we got to make sure that those phones are right. We should have long tail keywords and then boost our content with relevant stories and images and videos if we can. When we talk about social media marketing, social media is tricky, because social media is inherently an entertainment channel. It's not an advertising channel. Now, can you use it for advertising? Yes, but it's got to be relevant. And that's the key. That's what I was talking about with the University of Utah garb that kept coming in. It was irrelevant to me. But now it's pretty good. You know, I have a few interests, and just about all the advertising I get in my social media is tailored to my interests. I get stuff for the Los Angeles Dodgers. I get stuff for Utah State University. I get stuff for Hawaiian shirts. I like Hawaiian shirts. And so those are primarily the three things that show up in my advertising feeds on social media. So you want to make sure that you're targeting and not spamming, because you know, nobody is going to social media to learn about the wonders of Samsung. They're there to be entertained. They're there to interact with their friends and family. And so you got to make sure that, you know, from an interest standpoint, remember when I talked about making sure that you're impacting people's jobs, interests, income? Well, interest is where social media plays the role. 65% of businesses have found B2B partners on LinkedIn. 55% have found business from posting blogs. 43% have found some business on Facebook, and 40% on Twitter. So it can work if you do it right. But a lot of people have wasted a lot of money trying to advertise on social media because they're just throwing it out there and not targeting and not being relevant to the person that they're talking to. So let me tell you a story. There's 4 stages of of a successful social cycle: social listening, social influencing, social networking, and social selling. Now, everybody jumps to number 4, social selling, and that's exactly the wrong way to do it. Let me tell you a story. So there was a kid a few years ago that called me up one day. He was working for Disney, and was working for one of the people that I'd hired there, and he said, you know, I wanted to talk to you about this. I've got this idea. I want to try to become like the world expert on internet safety for children. And how am I going to do that? How should I start that process? So we talked about this process that starts with social listening. I said, okay, so get online and start looking for all the information that's there about child internet safety. Buff up on it. Get uploaded on everything that you could possibly read or listen to, or conversations that you can see that people have said about child internet safety. Then, once you're kind of up to speed and you've got that base of knowledge, now you start social influencing, where you inject yourselves into these conversations. You start making posts, you know, in the comment sections on things that people say, you know, and then you build a website that perhaps has, you know, some solutions. Then you do some social networking. You start reaching out to those people that are worried about this and start getting yourself known to them. And then finally you do the social selling, where you become an expert and you start selling your services. And so he went through that process, and he's now testified before Congress on child internet safety. He goes out and does seminars all over the country for school districts and schools teaching child internet safety. And so, you know, you have to be patient. You can't just jump to selling, because that's not the way the world works. You've got to build your reputation, you've got to build your network, and then you can start being successful. So, from a social media marketing strategy, you know, we set goals that address our challenges. We research and seek for the answers that we're looking for. We establish our most important metrics. We dig in to see what our competitors are doing. We create and we create and curate engaging social content. And then we make timelines for a top priority, and then assess how we're doing. Cycles of learning. This is the same process as we saw on the innovation lecture. Cycles of learning. Plan, do, study, act. Plan, do, study, act. Plan, do, study, act. We always go through cycles of learning on everything that we do, because we want to try to keep getting smarter and better. You can't just do one thing and stick with it. You've got to keep evolving, and trying to get better at it every day. So a few statistics, Facebook. Facebook demographic, 62% of all females have an account, 74% of all males. And, it skews a little older, although, it's deceptive because the younger people have accounts, but they never use them. If I poll my college students and say, how many of you have a Facebook account, most of them will raise their hand, and I'll say, how many of you have posted on your Facebook account in the last 30 days or even looked at it? That goes down to like 2. And so, they've got their Facebook accounts there to keep their parents and their grandparents happy, but, they're not using it, they're using Instagram. If you look at it from a location standpoint, Facebook is the one network that really translates across urban, suburban, and rural networks. In terms of income levels, fairly even across the board, skews a little bit towards college, but there's still a significant amount of people that have just a high school education. Now let's look at Instagram. Instagram demographics, 30% of females have an account, 39% of males, and it skews really young, 29 and under. Hardly anybody over the age of 30 has a Instagram account. In terms of the demographics, 42% urban, 34% suburban, and not too much in the rural, only 25%. When we look at income, it's again kind of a lot lower because again we've got a lot younger people there and a lot less education in terms of college. Twitter. Twitter is changing dramatically now. 24% of females have an account, 23% of males, and it's primarily the 18 and above group. From a demographic standpoint, it's very urban and suburban and hardly anybody on rural. When we look at income, it skews high, and it skews high on college. For LinkedIn, LinkedIn has a 25% female user base, 25% male, and again from an age standpoint, it is primarily 18 to 64. Your prime working years, once you get to 65 and people start retiring, then there's not much use for LinkedIn anymore. LinkedIn has turned into a job recruiting site for the most part. Who's using it? 30% urban, 27% suburban, and not too much from a rural standpoint, again, because it's a jobs thing. Very high income, very high college levels. Pinterest. Now, Pinterest is interesting. 41% of all females have an account, only 16% of males, because it's there for home improvement. It's there for doing hobbies, and a lot of stay-at-home moms are addicted to Pinterest. You've got location, which again goes pretty much across the board, urban, suburban, and rural, fairly even across the board. From a income standpoint, tends to skew a little higher and a little higher on income. So now let's talk about content marketing. Content marketing is a strategic marketing approach focused on creating and distributing valuable and relevant content to attract and retain a clearly defined target audience, ultimately to drive profitable customer actions. So content marketing is stuff that you're creating yourself, hence content. So content marketing can be in a lot of forms. If you think about it from a easy to hard kind of progression, on the easy end you've got social media posts and some stories that you might write. You might do a short form blog. You might contribute content to somebody else's story. You might create some infographics. This is getting a little harder now. You do a long form blog or a presentation, or then you write thought leadership papers and books and white papers. All of those kind of progressing up the ramp of difficulty. So how do you do it? So here's where, again, most people fail, because they spam. They use their email list as a spam tool, and they continually bludgeon you with stuff to the point where you say, no mas, I give, I'm done, and you hit the unsubscribe button. And you don't want that to happen. It takes a lot of time, effort, and money to get somebody to opt into your marketing, and to lose them is like a dagger to the heart. You don't want that to happen. So we want to make sure that we're managing our interactions on a good way. So let me talk about social media for a second. So when I was at the Jazz, I spent a tremendous amount of time. When I get there, I only had 4,000 email addresses, and they were all for season ticket holders. I had 0 phone numbers and no other databases. So I built consumer promotions that we would promote during games, on television, on radio, in arena, that every month we would do a different consumer promotion. It could be something like having the coach come over to your house to have dinner. It could be building a sport court in your yard and having one of the players come over to play you one-on-one. There were a lot of different types of promotions, but the way we advertised it was extremely targeted, because it only went out on Jazz media. So we knew for a fact that we were only getting Jazz fans, and the way that they entered was putting in their email address. And so we would get their email, we would get their phone number, and suddenly within 3 years, we went from 4,000 email addresses to over 250,000 email addresses. We went from 0 phone numbers to over 70,000 phone numbers. Now we can do direct marketing to those, and it doesn't cost anything. But again, you have to manage that very carefully. So another story that goes with it. One day I'm sitting at my desk, and I get a phone call from an ad agency that was for a sponsor of the team. And they were sponsoring the game that night. And they go, okay, so, we've got our mascot coming to the game that's going to be on the court at halftime. Would you tweet that out and put that on your social pages? And I said, no, because we have a kind of a rule. And the rule is very simple. Every time we go to make a post, we ask 3 questions. Number 1, is it timely? Number 2, is it relevant? And number 3, is it actionable? And it's got to be 2 out of 3. So is it timely? Yes, the mascot's going to be at the game tonight. Is it relevant? No, because unless you're at the arena and the game's already sold out, it's not going to affect anyone. Is it actionable? No, because what are you going to do with a mascot appearance at a halftime show? So I decline. And so a few hours later, I get a call from senior management asking me to put it on there and quit being a jerk. So we put it out on our social media, and by game time, we put it out about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and by game time, we'd had 5,000 opt-outs between our email list and our phone numbers. So, you gotta be very protective of your lists, and only do things that, again, are timely, relevant, actionable, and you got to ask those questions every single time you go to post, and you can't spam people. So, email marketing. Email marketing is the backbone of inbound marketing, and it's the most effective digital marketing channel that there is. Do it what's called transactional emails, you can do relational emails, and you can do promotional emails. 3 different ways. Transactional, relational, promotional. Now, transactional emails. Now, these are what I talked about with Amazon, where it's just done by the computer. No human is involved. It's sending you an order confirmation, it's sending you a purchase receipt, it's sending you a shipping notice, it's sending you a delivery notice. And transactional emails are awesome because nobody has to manage them. They just manage themselves. The second type of email is what we call relational emails. And the relational emails can take form in a lot of different ways. It could be a new subscriber welcome letter. It could be a gated content, a newsletter, webinar event. I mean, Apple is the king of webinar events. I mean, every time they go to relaunch something, they just post a date and a time, and millions of people show up online to see what Apple's got up their sleeve. You could do surveys, you can do social updates, you can do content, you can have referral requests, all those different types of relational. But I want to talk about gated content for a second, because I think that's a really interesting one that's underutilized. Gated content is when you put stuff on your website that they have to have a code to get to. And so, a lot of times, pre-sales on concerts or plays will have a gated thing that you because you're on the list, you get the secret code so you can go in and buy it before the general public. And so there was a gal in one of my classes a few years back that was doing marketing for a swimsuit store. And their spring line was coming in, and she decided she was going to use gated content to launch the spring line. And so she put it on the website, but she put it behind this code that you had to type in, that she emailed out to all of their good customers. And the good customers then got to see the spring line before it posted for the general public. They sold out the entire line before the general public ever got to see it. So that's the value of gated content, because I feel like I'm getting something special for having been a customer and having been on your list. And so, taking advantage of gated content is a really good strategy to help keep customers feeling good about you and keep them involved with your marketing efforts. Promotional emails can take place in a lot of different forms. Again, a gated content, webinar announcement, event announcement, trial offers, upgrade offers. There's a lot of different ways that you can, just putting out sales. And that's, again, a good way, but you got to manage it carefully. You can't just spam. So there's two different ways you can send emails. You can send them by what we call broadcast, which is when you load in the email yourself, you load in the list, you hit the button, or autoresponder, which is what the stuff that the computer just takes care of. How we measure our marketing. There are 6 metrics. Number 1, list growth. Are we growing our list? Number 2, our delivery rate. How many of these things are actually getting delivered? How many are we getting bad email address kicked back at us? The open rate. How many of them got actually looked at? Click-through rate. If we had a link in there, what percentage that opened it clicked onto it? The unsubscribe rate. How many people are done with us and hitting the unsubscribe? And then complaint rate. How many people are complaining to the FTC about us? So, we want to make sure that we're looking at all of those different metrics. Now you've got direct response advertising. And direct response advertising is a complement to inbound marketing by pushing targeted messages out on prospects as they engage with our online content. And so direct response marketing channels could be your paid search advertising, your display advertising, and your affiliate marketing. So we're going to talk about each of those separately. So paid search advertising. Paid search advertising is when you go to Google, you go to Facebook, and you pay them to put your ad at the top of the search rankings when someone searches that term. It's a pretty simple process. You just go into your Google Analytics account, you type in the keyword that you want to buy. It will tell you what the other people are bidding on it, so you can see whether or not you're bidding in the relevant range, and you can place your bid. It's a bit of a hassle because you have to go in and check that constantly. But it's a great way to get, to jump the line, basically. If you haven't got good organic search, you can jump the line and get up to the top of the organic search, or the paid search. So, the benefits of paid search advertising, number 1, you get to the front page fast. You can maintain your reputation doing that. You can use measurable results from it. You can see how many people are clicking on your ads. You can use it to improve your brand recognition. It's great for local search. Here's the thing about local search. When somebody does a local search, something near me, for example, 50% of those people will walk into a business related to that day, and 18% will make a purchase. There is no higher return on investment than that. So you want to make sure that you are at the top of the pay-per-click on whatever that term is, near me, because that's almost a guaranteed customer. Targeted display advertising is the process of creating and placing banner and video ads on websites and blogs. Display advertising is an effective channel for creating brand awareness and driving clicks to your website. There are three different types. There are three different things you need to do in targeted display advertising. Number one is called contextual targeting. And contextual targeting is based on people's interests, their purchase habits, their demographics, and more. It's all done through the creepy AI stuff. Then there's keywords, targeting people by specific keywords that are relevant to your audience. And then there's topics. For example, Los Angeles Dodgers is a topic for me. And so, targeting people like that. There's two ways to do the transaction. There's number one is called reservation, and the second is called auction. And in a reservation, it's a pre-negotiated deal with a fixed price and a guaranteed delivery. You basically say, I want to buy 5 million ads, and I'm going to pay you this amount for it. And it's a guaranteed access to the audience, but you can't change the message in the middle. That 5 million is going to go out there, and you're stuck with it. Auction is the other way that you do it, and again, that's the way that I kind of talked about a second ago, where you go into Google Analytics and you bid. So each impression is awarded to the most competitive bidder. It's a market dictated price with flexibility to shift your budgets, but if you don't show up in the ranking, you don't show up at all. So there's a little bit of a risk there. So let's go through a live auction simulation so you can kind of see how it works. So let's just say you were on Pinterest today and somebody Googled or put in the search term for spring skirts, and this page pops up. But Pinterest has saved that number 2 placement on the page as an ad to be paid search. And so 3 companies have decided to bid on that ad position: H&M, Nordstrom, and Gap. And they send in, here are the skirts that we're going to feature if we are to win that bid. So now this is when the algorithm kicks in. So the companies bid their prices. H&M bids $1.15, Nordstrom $1.09, Gap $1.30. Now you would think, just based on this, that, well, Gap wins, right? That's not the way it works. So it's an expected value to Pinterest is how they figure it out. So they take your bid price times what they call a predicted performance, which is basically their AI looking at the skirts that you've said that you're going to feature, them looking at their historical results and saying, well, what has been clicked on the most, and then creating what we call an expected value out of that. So, for example, their predicted click-through rates for the H&M dress is a 17% click-through. On the Nordstrom, it's a 22% click-through, and for the Gap, it's a 16% click-through. So now you got to do the math. And so who wins the auction? Well, the expected value to Pinterest from the H&M bid is 19.55 cents. The expected value from the Nordstrom ad is 23.98 cents, and the predicted value to Pinterest from the Gap ad is 20.8 cents. So Nordstrom wins. And bingo, there's the dress with the Nordstrom ad, and that's how it all gets there. And that's how all of it works. That's how every auction ad works, is it goes through this expected value, because Google and Pinterest and everybody else are only interested in making money. So they only want to show the ads that they think are going to get clicked on, because they only get paid if they get clicked on. So they go through that machination and that math to make sure that they're maximizing their profits. Content marketing. Content marketing is when you create content that looks and feels natural, such as sponsored content in the form of an article. So, for example, you might have looked at the bottom of your Facebook feed or a website, and it says, there's like 4 or 5 little ads down there, and one of them says, greatest pictures taken out of an airplane. Oh, that's interesting. And so you click it open, and it shows you all the great photos of the Grand Canyon. But it's sponsored and it's written by JetBlue, saying, hey, and in the article they mentioned, JetBlue, we fly this route right over this area. So you can see, if you were going over Arizona, you could see these exact sites. It's kind of clever, kind of an interesting way of doing it. And so, you give the consumer the content, but you bury your advertising messages in it. The reason why is because people will look at these native ads at about a 25% clip rate versus only a 20% rate for a banner ad. So, you can disguise it as a newspaper article. You can disguise it as something in your Facebook feed. You can disguise it as something on, your website. You can disguise it as a story that you post out on your emails. You can disguise it as a video. There's a lot of different ways that you can take the content and disguise it. But the beautiful thing about content marketing is that you can make it evergreen. If you do it right, you can reuse it time and time and time again and in different channels. You write an article, you can send it out as an email. You can post it on your website. You can send it out as, put it on Facebook. You can run it in the newspaper. And, then you can wait a year and you can do it all again because nobody will remember that it was ever there. So creating content is a really smart way of doing marketing because you can reuse it time and time and time again. Now, when you buy ads online, you're basically buying one of 2 networks. You're either buying Google ads or Facebook ads. 95% of all digital ads go through one of those 2 networks. Now, there's a reason for that. Because, think about it. I own a website. If I want to put advertising on my website, I don't have the time or the energy to go out and try to sell people. I don't have the traffic that would justify it, right? But if I contracted with Google, then I would say, okay, here's the spots on my website where you can put ads, and then Google would put ads there and would compensate me a small amount for having that ad space on my website. And it is zero effort to me. So a lot of companies that don't have sales forces that can go out and sell the advertising just contract with Google or Facebook and let them take care of it. When you go to YouTube and there's a pre-roll video, that's all the same. It's the same strategy. The curator of the content doesn't have the time or the energy to go out and sell that ads, so they just let Google sell that ad space for them, and they take a little cut of it coming back. Remarketing. Now this is the cool stuff that's kind of creepy, but it's powered by artificial intelligence. It allows advertisers to follow you around on the web and remind you and show you ads of content that you signaled an interest in having. So, the reason it's important, 96% of people leave websites before converting to a sale. Only 4% buy on the first visit. 49% of people visit the websites 2 to 4 times before actually making a purchase. Online shopping carts are abandoned over 70% of the time, and 60% of the items that are put in a shopping cart, customers don't buy. So that's why it's important to just keep reminding them, hey, you looked at this, really should think about it again. Now, Salesforce did a study on this. This was kind of cool. They tracked along what happens with somebody. So let's just say that somebody had looked at that Nordstrom dress on Pinterest. And so that was their first exposure to it. And then since they clicked on it, Google they went to the Nordstrom website. And then after going to the Nordstrom website, Google fed them an ad for it. And then Facebook fed them an ad for it. and then they went to some other website where they got fed an ad, probably from either Google or Facebook. And then they went back and Google fed them another ad, and then Google fed them another ad. So it's a non-linear process. It takes 6 to 7 different interactions before somebody will make a purchase. On Google and on Amazon, it takes like 21 days on average for somebody to make a purchase. So it's a long purchase cycle. The way remarketing works is the user signals, I'm interested. That cookie grabs that information, and they visit the website, they track them around the web, they leave your site, and then fed a whole bunch of stuff to try to get you to come back and make a purchase. The benefits of remarketing. Number one, it improves response rates by as much as 600% versus traditional banner and targeting ads. It targets prospects that have already shown an interest. So you're only targeting people who have raised their hand and already shown an interest. It increases brand recall, it accelerates the purchase cycle, and you can sometimes offer incentives for them to come back. Oftentimes if you've left something in the shopping cart, you'll get an email back a few days later that says, hey, 10% off if you'll come back and finish off the purchase. So the reason you use remarketing, number one, it's a way to gain competitors' customers. You can target your competitor's website, and if they visited them, you can target those people. Number two, you can use 56% of companies use retargeting to gain new customers. 43% of companies use retargeting to increase brand awareness. So it's a really cool way to advance your brand that we didn't have available until the last 4 or 5 years, really. Affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing is a reselling program where third companies refer business to your site, and then you pay them a finder's fee, basically, for coming to your site. So you can sign up, if you have a website, you can sign up with Amazon to become an affiliate marketer. And the way that it works is pretty simple. Somebody comes to your website. If you have a link then on your website to a product on Amazon, and they click that link and they go to Amazon, anything they buy on that purchase visit, you get a commission on. So it's not even if they buy that product. You get a commission on anything that they buy during that visit. So a lot of times now you'll see websites popping up with the best 20 refrigerators, the top TVs. Well, it's just people doing affiliate marketing where they've done deals, they put links over to the product, they've signed up as an affiliate marketer with these different companies, and then if you click the link and you make the purchase, they get a piece. And so it's a pretty easy way to make money just by building a website and just letting it sit there and create the affiliates. So the way that it works, the affiliate puts your ad on their website, the customer clicks on it, the conversion is tracked. If they make a purchase, you get a commission. Pretty simple. All right, I know we went through a lot of information there about digital marketing, but they're all very effective tools if you use them correctly. The question is which ones to use, because you can't do it all. You'd go bankrupt trying to do all of those types of things. You'd have to have an army to try to do it. So part of the challenge of digital marketing is really figuring out which are going to be the most effective for me and most cost effective for me in order to grow my business.